Well, we'll go ahead and get started. I think we'll see if you continue to filter in as they come. But welcome everybody. We've got a good group of new students, some returning students and alumni, and some from the industry. So welcome to our first seminar series in this academic year, and our first seminar series via Zoom, actually. So I think we would all love to be at Old Mech having lunch together, but glad that you can join us here, and hopefully that will come soon enough. For those who don't know me, I'm Daniel Wright, Program Director for the Masters in Real Estate. Some of you may be new or haven't joined us since last year. We've had a few changes. Dr. Buttimer moved to North Florida and is dean there, and Dr. Chu took his position. So we've had a few changes in the real estate program. A couple of announcements before we get rolling. So our next seminar event, put on your calendar, is October 16th, and that's going to be ICSC is putting that together with Daryl. I think he will be joining us. I don't know if he's on yet. But he's got someone from Simon lined up, a local retail owner, retail broker, and putting together a nice retail panel that's going to hit some really relevant information. So that'll be October 16th. We'll do the same setup. Also, October 29th is our housing summit, where Dr. Chu will present research that we've done on the multifamily and single family housing. It's going to include the last 6 months, and so there should be some interesting information that you'll receive, and encourage you all to participate in that. That will also be virtual. I think that hits our announcements, key things. So one item we're going to, one of the benefits of Zoom is it allows us to have chat. So as you have comments or questions really that come to your mind, feel free to put those in the chat. We'll have a Q&A at the end where we can address those. To get you started, we have the introduction. Dr. Debbie wanted to tailor it really to the group that we have here. So think about your careers and pertinent, relevant issues that are at the forefront of your mind. What, as you're sitting, Matt's sitting in his office with the board behind him, what is it that's on your mind right now? What issue are you dealing with, or issues are you dealing with? And if you want to plug that into the chat, that can allow Debbie to kind of look through those and tailor her presentation. So be putting those in as we go through the intro. I want to thank IREM, Institute of Real Estate Management, for their fantastic support of our program. Cindy Johnson, who's on the call, and Chip Crumpler have been fantastic to work with for us, and have supported the program and have helped put this together today. So we really appreciate that. And we're especially appreciative of Dr. Debbie Phillips for taking time to be with us today. And Cindy is going to introduce her, and she'll be great. This is, I think, a fantastic way to really kick off our seminar series. So I'll turn it now to Cindy to introduce Dr. Debbie Phillips.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. My name is Cindy Johnson, and I have been involved with IREM for many, many years, and I was a local 2015 president. As Daniel said, IREM stands for the Institute of Real Estate Management, and it has been in existence for over 85 years. It's an international organization with over 20,000 leaders in the commercial and residential industries. And I'm very, very, very proud to be part of this wonderful organization, and I'm so excited that you guys are attending this seminar today. Commercial real estate and development and property management has been my career and passion for almost 16 years. I work at Insight Properties, and you may be familiar with our newest development, the refinery at 123 West Morehead. I'm also a UNCC alumni and wholeheartedly support each of you with your real estate education and careers. Without further ado, it is my absolute honor to welcome our speaker and my friend, Debbie Phillips. Debbie's here today to share her passion for developing leaders. She is a thought leader with over 30 years of experience in the workforce development with an emphasis in the real estate industry. As an entrepreneur, Debbie is a multifaceted career, including developing world-class leadership, development programs, and talent management strategies. She received the 2019 Women of Influence Award by Globe Street. She was named as the 2015 Certified Property Manager of the Year by the Institute of Real Estate Management and received the 2013 Outstanding Educator Award by the National Apartment Association. Debbie completed her PhD from Georgia Tech, where her research focused on employee engagement. Debbie's true passion is developing top-tier talent that adds value to organizations through increased employee engagement. In addition to teaching, Debbie is an author and a nationally acclaimed speaker. Please welcome joining Ms. Dr. Debbie Phillips.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I just want to say it's a fantastic Finish Strong Friday. And I can't think of a better way for us all to have a little fellowship and talk about your careers. I use a term called net weaving, not networking. And it's really a testament to the Institute of Real Estate Management. And I wouldn't be on this presentation today if it weren't for my IRM sister, Cindy, and my IRM brother, Chip. So it's exciting to be here today. As I shared with Daniel, and you get to know my personality, I could talk if y'all didn't show up. So I'm glad you're here. We're going to have a great discussion. I will try, I told Chip and Cindy, I will keep more of my formal remarks to about 35, 40 minutes, and then I will stop sharing my screen, and then we can come back together so I can see your gorgeous faces. So, but I wanted, before I start the presentation, does anybody want to throw out any topic? Jake, you look like a reflective guy. Tell me what's on your mind.
Did you say my name?
Yeah, Jake. What's on the top of your mind regarding your career? What do you do?
Oh, what do I do? Sorry. I'm an analyst for JLL's capital markets team. So just basic, working under producers, like running financial and like market analyses for principals and, different, portfolios and funds. I would say kind of like the top of my mind right now in my career is, making a switch, and whether or not that switch needs to be within the company or outside the company. It's just a tough decision to make because I've been with the company for 5.5 years. And, it's like, I don't want to leave what I have established so far, but if I need to make the right moves to get where I need to go, then what does that entail? So that's kind of been on my mind lately. So
I love it. I love it. Well, JLL is a phenomenal employer and partner. I work with JLL and a lot of other areas of real estate. So that's awesome. And you may be thinking, I have, as Cindy knows, I do a lot of career coaching, and I hear people say, now is it time, Debbie, to make a move? What do you think is going to happen as we move into 2021? And so we'll talk about that. I have a question from Joyce. Joyce, where are you, my dear? I have to find you on my screen. There you are, up in my, okay. Joyce says, what advice do you have for someone who is changing careers and looking for their niche in the field of development, changing careers, new to real estate completely? I'm going to cover that a little bit in my formal remarks, but I will tell you, Joyce, there's no substitute for job shadowing. And pick out what I call a high producer in the area that you're really in development. And I really encourage women in construction, women in development. So all of you ladies in the presentation, in the audience today, I want you to think about your personal branding, because there's certainly a need for more female participation in construction and development. So Joyce, now that you know me, we are woven together. And
Okay, great.
you can reach out to me, and Cindy knows. I always have 3 or 4 cell phones because I never want my battery to go dead. So we can have a conversation with one another offline, and we can schedule some one-on-one time to talk.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Anybody else before I show my screen? Then I don't get to see your wonderful faces. So anybody else have a quick question? Morgan, you look like you're really contemplating something over there. Morgan Hall, do you have anything?
I am in a similar boat to Jake, which is trying to figure out what I want to do. I'm a broker right now, specializing in income producing retail shopping centers, which have taken quite the hit the last couple months. So it's been just kind of trying to figure out, do I want to stay in this or look into other things? So I'm excited to hear what you have to say today.
Okay, well, Morgan, I want to turn you on to multifamily, because multifamily is big business right now, particularly as millennials and Gen Z and even baby boomers. I call them the bookends in multifamily, because you've got those empty nesters that are tired of taking care of big houses, and they're coming back to multifamily. And then you got a lot of people like all of you on the call that really don't know where you want to settle down, and you want to, be mobile. So that apartment life is very attractive. So I want to encourage you to get into multifamily brokerage.
I will consider it for sure.
And then Morgan, when retail picks back up, you can go back. All right. Well, listen, these are all great questions, and I want every one of you. Now, I can see some of you didn't bring a pen. So you need a pen and you need your journal. Because if you don't have a journal that you write your notes to yourself and you're just putting them in your phone, you'll never go back and look at them. I promise. So get a hard journal. I'm a baby boomer. I walk around with my journal. I want y'all to have a professional development journal. It's where you write love notes to yourself. You write things that you want to explore. I'm not talking about like your Daytimer or your Outlook. I'm talking about your personal journal. So I want to make sure that you take some good notes. And Alana, you're going to monitor the chat, and I'm going to share my screen. So give me just a second. And we're going to hide all these little video controls so you can see the whole screen. And hopefully now, whoops, let me go back. Now, what I want you to know, well, first of all, let me tell you about this logo up in the top. The Quadrillion is where I make my money. And the Real Estate Career Academy is a nonprofit that I formed, I guess at the end of 2018, because I wanted to stay in touch with people like Daniel and other professors across the world to really link students to opportunities. I'm not a headhunter, I'm a net weaver. There's a difference. A headhunter or somebody in the recruiting space, they get paid to find talent. I do it because I want you to have the best career of your life. And I really believe that. So the presentation today I want to share with you is you are the CEO of YOU. And I want you all to think about who's on your board of advisors. It's so important. You don't have to know everything. You just have to have resources and contacts that can help you get to where you need to go and can be a true ally to you. So that's the title of my presentation. And I love to think about success a lot of times is like threading a needle. You know, there's times that you think, oh my God, this is really, you know, a tough decision. And I love this quote, what you leave behind is not what is engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others. I am here today truly because of Cindy and Chip. And they know that you couldn't find anybody that wanted to be here more than I do, because this is what I'm about. You know, I talk about a career of choice over a career of chance. A lot of people just kind of roll the dice and they say, oh, I just kind of fell into real estate. And then there's others like you that choose real estate as a career, as a program of work. And I want to tell you that what you do like today, building these relationships, is really going to start serving you in your future life. And it's already serving you, but it's going to become more and more important. I really believe that while leaders may lead by virtue of who they are, they also create value by virtue of their relationships. Jake, just by you being involved with JLL, you know, I immediately started thinking about all the people that I knew at JLL. And I really want you to take a close look at what I call your circles of influence. I taught career development at Georgia Tech, and I'd always say, you know, show me your 5 closest friends and I'll show you your future. You got to hang out with people that inspire you. And you need to kind of look at, you know, the contact list in your phone and say, you know, are these people the kind of people that I really want to run with? And Cindy and I have known each other now probably at least 6 or 7 years through our IRM work together. But it's never been more important than now to think about how do you continue to enrich relationships even in a virtual world. And is it different? Yes. Is it impossible? No. And I really talk about a career lattice versus a career ladder. You know, I love that what Stephen Covey says. He said, be careful climbing the ladder of success to realize it's leaning against the wrong wall. And a lot of times students and people will say, well, do you think it's bad that I've only been here a year and I'm not happy and I want to change career or change jobs? And I said, no, it's not. I mean, obviously you don't want to do it if, you know, somebody's just paid for your lead certification or your CPM, or, you know, there's certainly a time to think about that. But I really want you to think about a career lattice. And Morgan, you know, that's something for you to think about, for all of you to think about how you're building on your last experience. And that experience may have been a job, that experience might have been an internship, a co-op, but I am a big believer in a career lattice, because as we find that retail is extremely soft, multifamily is extremely strong, industrial, you look at what e-commerce has done to the need for industrial space. So I want to give you a piece of advice that I think is so valuable. I'm excited that you've chosen real estate, because real estate, most aspects of real estate don't have an expiration date. There'll always be hospitals that are needed. There's always going to be schools and campuses and corporate campuses. And there's always shelter. And my mother gave me a great piece of advice a long time ago. She's since passed, but she was a teacher, and she said, choose a career that doesn't have an expiration date. And I really didn't know what she meant by that. And then she said, choose a career where you can use your greatest strengths. And Cindy knows I have a whole program about your genius zone. Your genius zone is those 4 or 5 critical strengths, your natural abilities, because if you're playing in your genius zone and you're using your strengths, you are going to find less stress, more joy, more money, because when you do what you're naturally made to do, you're going to spend more time in it. And the people that I see that look like they've been weaned off of a lemon, totally and completely miserable, out of alignment, I call them pot stirrers. They're always stirring up some kind of crap. They're out of alignment because they're not happy and they're not doing what they were meant to do. So we've all known somebody in the workplace that just constantly was a disruptor. And I guarantee you it's because they have low self-esteem, they lack self-confidence, and they're not in their genius zone. So I want you, as we just think for the next, few minutes about what is it in your current career and your opportunity that you're in right now, how do you strengthen that? It might be relationships, it might be involvement, it might be getting additional certification, your dedication to lifelong learning. But I'm here today to help just foster these ideas and explore the possibilities of what's in front of you. Now, if you've ever been in a real estate class, or certainly a marketing class, you've heard about the 4 P's: people, price, product, and promotion. Well, I want to share with you what I think are 2 other P's, and it's really about net weaving, but it's very important that you think about the precision of your plan. If I looked in your journals today, would I find your goal for 2020? Do you actually write them down? Because the more specific you can be about your personal mission statement, some of your short-term and long-term goals, if you even just take the time to write them down, that starts to bring clarity to what you want to accomplish. So I call them Debbie P's P's: precision of your plan and preciseness of your speech. There's all kinds of information out there, and we're not short on information. I think we're short on wisdom. And the more you can learn to express your ideas, to get out and really bring clarity to your thoughts and your ideas, that's just going to elevate you in your circles of influence. Because you can be a brainiac and you can lack the communication skills, and you're going to be passed over because somebody's going to be able to sell it stronger than you are. So I really see that anytime you can take additional classes in, like Dale Carnegie, Stephen Covey, John Maxwell, learn from the best. I think some of the most valuable training that I've ever had was getting my CPM, and also taking all the Dale Carnegie courses. And I want to tell you that I paid a lot for that first Dale Carnegie course, and then I volunteered for 11 years to be a graduate assistant and volunteer my time. And that just reinforced all of Dale Carnegie's training in me. And it was kind of like my own personal scholarship. So I wanted to just share with that. How many of you, and I can't see, but you know, you probably all felt, if you've ever been at a bar or a high top table and the legs on the table were uneven, it was a miserable experience. And I talk about what I call my core four. These are kind of the legs on the chair or the table. To me, this is what anchors you to success. I call it a mindset of influence. And first of all, obviously, your attitude. You know, you set the temperature in your work environment. If you think your boss does, or you think somebody else does that's higher on the totem pole, they may try to, but you have a great deal of influence on the outcome just simply by your attitude. Leadership, you don't have to have a title to be a leader. You lead, you know, I always say, are you worth following? Because we can learn just as much from a bad boss as we can from a good boss. But I think leadership is really about influence. And certainly I've shared with you my term net weaving. I want you to just start collecting people. And my mentor, Ann Sweeney, that Daniel, you'll appreciate her. She ran the housing department at the University of Georgia. And next to my mother, she's made the greatest impact in my life. And she has a term called waybacks. See, Cindy, Chip, and I are waybacks. Don't ever forget about your waybacks. Those are the people that really stood in your corner, that had your back, that advocated for you, that you worked with at the beginning of your career. Friends, if you don't take anything from me today, start thinking and creating relationships that will one day be your waybacks. You're too young to have a lot of waybacks, but that is very, very, very important. And certainly, I would like to encourage all of you in this personal and professional skills to have a professional development plan. If I were coaching you one-on-one today, I'd say, show me your growth plan. Well, what do you mean, Debbie? What is it that you want to accomplish between now and the end of 2020 and certainly going into 2021? Do you want to, you know, take a, you know, specific class? Do you want to earn a different designation? Do you want to get your real estate license? What do you want to do? Because I will tell you that the people that are most successful have a plan, and they know, at least they've identified some short-term goals. So this is really what I believe to be what I call kind of your core four. And certainly to think about, and I mentioned about your personal branding. I love this. It says your smile is your logo. Your personality is your business card, and how you leave others feeling after that an experience with you becomes your trademark. You got to leave people better than you find them. And when you start going deep with people, you will begin to see these dots connecting. I love what Steve Jobs said in a commencement speech. He said, it's easier to connect the dots looking backward. You'll start reflecting on your career and you'll say, oh, now I know why I met that person. Oh, now I know. Okay. And I want you to encourage people to tell you what they need. And I say, you got to be a go-giver as much as a go-getter. Zig Ziglar said, you can have anything in life you want as long as you help other people get what they want. And I want you to start thinking about your own circles of influence. what are your gifts that you have to share? And then what are things that you want to learn and areas of growth? My students at Georgia Tech, they'd always say, Debbie, you talk all the time. I never know what's going to be on your exams. And I used to, and Cindy's heard me say this before, I used to say, when it's big, 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 that means write it down. So this is big, big, big. Associate with people of integrity. You know, your reputation is like glass. If it ever breaks or you break it, it never really goes back the same. That's what I absolutely love about IREM, is that's really a cornerstone of our real estate education is a strong emphasis on ethics. Number 2 is live by principles instead of feelings. Friends, let me just say that when you go into a meeting and you say, well, I think, or I feel, you need to compete on data and evidence. And you're going to make a more compelling case when you have the facts to back it up. And then number 3, reject anything that tempts you to lower your standards. I was doing a presentation yesterday for a group out in Houston, and they said, you know, Debbie, we're starting to open our offices back up, and we have a few associates that still want to hang out in their yoga pants. And I said, well, we're reopening the office. So the days of the yoga pants was yesterday. We're going to start today, and we're going to get dressed professionally, and we're going to go back into our regular protocol. And the reason I wanted to share that with you is because just pay attention to who you hang out with. Because if you are allowed to lower your standards or, you know, not be crisp and not be on it, if you know what I mean, mediocrity can set in. And I just want you to hang out with people that really challenge you. I had the opportunity to do a marathon. Actually, I've done 2 of them, and I didn't know anything about running. I signed up because it was a fundraiser for leukemia. And I learned very quickly in getting ready for that marathon is it wasn't going to help hanging out with people that didn't walk. You know, you got to get in the game. You got to walk and run with people that are faster than you. And that's a lot like it is in charting your career. You got to hang out with people that you aspire to be. So this is very important. Just be careful that in times when you may be out of sync or on an irregular schedule or something, I encourage you to read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. He says you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems and processes. And then as we kind of wind down, I want you to learn to make decisions. And the reason I share this with you is because sometimes if you're just starting out in your career, you may really rely on other people to make decisions. And I want you to get really strong at knowing what you want and being decisive. And I share with my friends early in their career, you know, there's these root decisions that you better share or they could impact the organization. There's trunk decisions that you make a decision and you tell people. And then there's branch decisions that you update them on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And then there's leaf decisions that you just do and you don't have to report your action. And the reason I wanted to share this little nugget with you is because this really can start a wonderful conversation with your supervisor and even for you to have with your direct reports and people on your team, is that get your sandbox defined early and often, because I don't know anything more aggravating than to be given a task and not be given the freedom to take care of it. And that might be in spending, that might be in just communicating or whatever it is. So I felt compelled today, I don't know why, to just show you what I call the decision tree. And then I call it clean plate leadership. Learn to move things off your desk. I've been an entrepreneur now for over 24 years, and I've thoroughly enjoyed working for myself. And I'm not saying it's easy. It's not for the faint at heart, but I will tell you that I've had to learn that I don't get paid until it gets done. And I'm a perfectionist. And if I've learned anything being an entrepreneur, is something done and finished is better than something that I can just continue to sit there and pick at. So I just want to share with you that clean plate leadership. Learn to just move it on, get it off your desk. That might be, a graduate research paper that you're putting off. So again, books like Atomic Habits, Willpower, Essentialism by Greg McCowan. That's a wonderful book. Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy, or Time Tactics for Successful People. I have a lot of books that I can recommend. But again, we become what we plan. And so that's a great place. I can send you this slide deck. I had a few more slides, but I'm looking at our time, and I'd really rather take care of you than to go through slide after slide, and you'd probably fall asleep anyway. But let's talk about how I can help you craft your plan and just answer some of your questions. So with that, Alana, I tell you what, I'll send this presentation with the additional slides and my book recommendations. Cindy knows, God, I have probably 30 books to recommend. I feel like Oprah in her book club, but I will stop sharing my screen and that's a great one right there, by the way. But we'll take some comments, questions. There we go. What we got? You can unmute.
Hey, Debbie, this is Toronto Picaria. How are you?
Hey.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. So I actually had a question. So I'm transitioning from my role. So I'm going to be doing this full time, leaving my company in November. I'm currently a business management professional. So working continuous improvement, process management, and business management. And I'm looking into getting into development or portfolio management, specifically in areas that focus on impact investing and improving social mobility scores, to have a purpose, a little bit more of a purpose to the type of role that I'm doing. And I guess one of the questions as I go through this process, finding one of those roles or finding a job in that area may not be necessarily as easy, or might not be the right move right away. So I guess a question for you would be, would you focus on finding a role that helps you build your skills that are needed to eventually find success in what you're looking to do? Or should you just try to find a role within the area that you want to be in, and try to work through that?
Well, I would tell you, I would always recommend fine-tuning your own process first, because you're going to be able to bring that genius zone to any industry.
Right.
And if I learned anything at Georgia Tech, my PhD dissertation was on employee engagement. And I had this bright idea: engaged employees drive profits to the bottom line. And my major professor said, well, prove it. And if I learned anything in my doctoral work, it is, if you don't have a process, you don't have replicatable and duplicatable success. You cannot scale a business if you do not have processes. So I would encourage you to continue going down that path and learn process improvements, learn where, I call them the logs in the river, because then you can take your secret sauce, you can take your recipe to any industry. So I would focus on that first.
Great, thank you.
Who else? That's a great question.
Hey Debbie, it's Tiffany. I have a question for you.
Sure.
So I've been working in multifamily property management for the last 13 years, and it's been enjoyable. I've learned a lot. I've, mentored and allowed people to grow with me, but I feel it's at a point where now I need to grow more, but I want to stay in multifamily. I do enjoy that. Just don't have a chance to use my creativity as much as I like. So one of those like genius traits of like, I'm not being able to use on a day-to-day basis. So, and I'm very interested in development. So that's why I'm wanting to come here and get my degree. What is, I guess, one of the key components of maybe transitioning from property management to the development side and still in the multifamily or mixed use? I do manage both mixed use and multifamily. So making that transition to development.
Okay, well, you come to the right person because I've got lots of thoughts for you. Number one is, are you involved in IRM?
I am not currently, no.
Okay, Tiffany.
I know.
Oh my God. Tiffany, you got to go see Cindy.
Okay.
She's just 4 screens up to the right. There you go.
Hey, Cindy.
All right. You gotta book an hour with Cindy. You gotta come to an IRA meeting, whether that be virtual or in person, and you gotta hang out with the next gen group. And then I want you to get on a committee. And then I want you to become a member of ULI, Urban Land Institute. And I want you to apply for one of the leadership programs in ULI because they've got a phenomenal development track. And I want you to schedule a 30-minute conversation with me so we can really map out what that looks like over the next 12 to 18 months for you. Because people start stagnating and they start feeling weird and out of whack when they're not doing 2 things. They're not giving or they're not growing.
Right.
And when you really want to spark yourself up, you start giving and growing.
Right. Yeah. So I don't want to, that's exactly it, because when you've been doing it this long and you breathe it, you sleep it, you live it. I love sales. I can sell anything in that. So
Sure.
Now let's just bridge that gap between being able to understand what the consumer wants when it comes to multifamily, because I know that. And now I can use my creativity to do the development side, which I love. So hopefully I really would enjoy talking to both you and Cindy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, another thing is you need to think about, like I said at the beginning, who's your board of trusted advisors? Pick some 2 or 3 people to ask to serve on your board of advisors that have roles that you're interested in.
Right.
So,
okay.
And hopefully y'all will find these kind of conversations valuable. And Daniel, I'd love to come back and do a presentation on how do you find your strengths? Because a lot of times people walk around and they can't articulate their strengths. And if you can't articulate your strengths, then how are you going to ask for the next opportunity? Because the first thing I ask people all the time, well, what do you want to do? Well, I don't know. I'm like, well, if you don't know, how am I supposed to know? So we got to get fired up.
All right. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you, Tiffany.
Anyone else have any more questions? Hey, this is Michaela. So I'm just starting out within the real estate program, and I just graduated with my bachelor's in finance. So I haven't had a career yet in finance or real estate. So I was wondering, like, what do you think is the best way in order to start job shadowing for different positions?
Well, first of all, you need to hang out with Jake. He's up there on the corner, 3 columns over. So meet Jake. The second thing I want you to do is I want you to think about finance from 3 different aspects. There's corporate finance, where you're doing transactions and deals. So you could look at, you know, what I call acquisitions, dispositions, and that kind of thing. So that's one area. The second area of finance is, you know, what I call kind of portfolio accounting, which to me is a little bit more boring, but that's just my personal opinion. And then number 3 would be really looking at asset management. Like you have a portfolio, and let's say, you know, you're working for an owner and he's got capital projects, and they're looking at how they're going to deploy that capital. So, you know, deciding what assets should get how much money and why. To me, that gets me fired up. I use a term, Michaela, the juice has to be worth the squeeze. And what I mean by that is, if you're gonna, and I even have a slide that says what you do today is important because you're exchanging a day of your life for it. If it's not juicing you up and it's not sparking you, stop. Don't waste your life. Get on with doing something you enjoy.
I like that.
A lot of times, Michaela, people pick their job by a job description. And I'm like, that's the total reverse of what you should be doing. You should be thinking about what lights you on fire and then go find somebody that needs that. I see so many people try to conform to a flipping job description, and then they get in there and then they call me and they're like, I hate it. And I'm like, well, you chose it. Who else? This is great. I
Thank
love
you.
this. See, we could have just talked.
Hi, Andy here.
Hey, girly.
Have kind of a unique situation experience. I am the vice president of a local home builder that is owned by my father. This was not the career that I thought I was going to do when I was going through college, but now that I'm in it, I can't imagine doing anything else. I now realize that growing up on job sites with Little Pink Tool Belt was training me for what I'm doing now, and I absolutely love that. And through that, I've realized that growing up in the industry, I have a lot of contacts that are way backs, but they're not my way backs per se. They're my father's, who, when I was at the house for dinner or whatever, his friends coming over, and now they're the division presidents of the local home builders. They are managers, directors for banks, for whomever. With that, I was able to get a seat at the table and was able to get some face time with these people because of the experience my father has and growing up and now being in his company. So I'm on the board of directors for the Home Builders Association, and one of the things I've been aspiring to do is start a professional women in building council, because I mean, 93% of all home building decisions, or of all housing decisions, are made by women. It's the woman head of house that's generally picking the house, it's deciding what house is being built, what specifications she wants. And when you're doing with used homes, that's still the woman who's generally deciding which house they're going with. What I've run into is, in an industry like home building that is so male dominated, when you go and tell them that this is a need, it falls on deaf ears because they don't understand that there's that deficit in mentorship. I've had great mentors, but they're not necessarily understanding situations I'm put into. Like when I tell a male mentor that I'm told don't worry your pretty face, let the men do it. They're like, no, 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 that never happened. I'm like, yes, it does, all the time. And it's just part of it. And you smile through it and it's not a big deal. But do you have any advice of ways to help build out a mentorship for women? It's something I've been trying to do, but it's hard to convince the male decision makers that it's necessary.
Well, stop trying to convince them and just do it.
Well, I would, however, so Professional Women in Building is a sub-council of the Home Builders Association, so I need approval to do that. There are plenty of other things I could do that are less formal, but because it's a national organization, there's a tremendous amount of benefit to it. I've had a lot of benefit being part of it at the national level, but I'd like to bring it local. So there are approvals, there are convincing that needs to be done. Otherwise, I would have just done it already.
I think you just need to be persistent and keep on. And let me say this, the home builders, they have foundations, they have scholarships. Write yourself a white paper and put why this is important, and take your calls to the person that has the most, how should I say it, that has a lot of clout, and let them run it up the flagpole for you. But do your homework. Like I said, put yourself together, 2 or 3 page white paper, outline the next steps, put a little small budget together of what it's going to take to fund it, how you're going to promote it. But, again, just use somebody that has the most clout and let them get in the boat with you, because they may say no to Andy all day long, but they're not going to say no to Grand Poopah, whoever he is, so find an advocate. And then, and you know what, Andy, you've been doing it informally. So you'll be able to get some quick traction once they give you the approval.
Yeah, I had an interest meeting that was one of the first steps they wanted to see. They wanted me to have 25 people to show up and I had 90.
Exactly.
But then COVID happened and they're like, oh, we don't need to be worrying about this right now. I'm like, but it's even more important now than it was before. And virtual doesn't mean less than, it means different.
Absolutely. I'm going to quote you today. Now hold yourself together, Andy. You're going to be in my post, so I'm going to take your picture. Smile. There, I got it. You gave me the quotable. I love it. But remember, honey, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And squeaky, I don't mean whiny. Squeaky, I mean persistent.
Thank you.
And I'll be a speaker for you when you get it all together.
I will absolutely hit you up for that.
I'd love to do it, honey.
Hey, Debbie.
Yes.
I actually have a question for you. So one thing I've noticed, like with like colleagues and like friends of mine that are like, and it could be in any industry, it doesn't necessarily have to be in real estate, is that they are like part of a great company or a great organization, but they're not under a great boss or great structure. So like kind of sort of like the vibe that I get is that, okay, it's like, do you want to like suffer through it to like possibly get through the next step? Or it's like, no, like, why should I do this to myself? Like, like it's not healthy for me to like have a career like this, like, I guess so young, but it's just like also at the same time you see like longevity with where you're at. So I guess what would be your advice? Would you say, suck it up, deal with it? Or would you say, no, you need to like get out of Dodge kind of thing?
Well, Jake, I love that question. And if I had $1 for every time I got asked that question, I probably would be in Tahiti right now. But I will tell you this. I ask you to ask yourself 3 important questions. Number 1 is, what else do you want to learn where you are right now? I mean, if you took the jerk out of play, what would you be able to learn while you're still there? That's number 1. Number 2 is, who do you have access to that you can learn and gain mentorship from? And in other words, we could file that under hold your nose while you're still learning and building your personal brand, because JLL is a wonderful, wonderful brand. And you know, the longer you can wait it out, you're building your brand with a great company. But number three, if you can't stomach it, or it just gets to be nauseating, you can't put a price on personal peace. And I have seen a lot of times when somebody said, I can't take it anymore, they threw up their hands, and then the next month the jerk got fired. So, you know, I think you just have to weigh it against your own internal thermometer. But as long as you're growing and there's opportunities under that roof, I would try to stick it out as long as I could, because you've got such a strong brand. If you were working for a nobody company and there were 6 people and you had heartburn every day, I'd tell you to leave immediately. But I think you are going to get more horsepower in that brand. What else? Morgan, you planning your life, honey? Have you already left retail and now you're moving over to brokerage?
Not yet, but
Family, have I convinced you?
we're open to it, I will say.
I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you. Brandon, what you got on your mind? You're looking like you're really thinking over there. Smoke's coming out of your ears.
Nothing really, just kind of thinking about where I want to go in my career long term and how to get there after some of the things that you've said.
Good. What was a takeaway today that kind of, you know, struck you?
The graphic, particularly of the networking versus net weaving, is one that'll stick with me, definitely, for sure.
Thank you. Brandon, networking is more transactional. Net weaving is more transformation.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a better person because I hang out with Cindy. That's transformational.
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing you can do is take an inventory of who's around you. Anybody else? Has this been good? Megan, you're there. You're shaking your head. What'd you get out of today's presentation?
Oh, it was good. I recently did property management for Lincoln Harris. So I sort of took the pause. I'm going to do this program full time to switch more to finance, which was my undergrad. So I kind of like your advice of looking at the 3 steps of finance and looking what you're interested in. So I'm definitely more of the asset management or acquisition. So just kind of trying to figure that out. And I'm shadowing with Lincoln Harris employees that work in those fields also. So just kind of trying to see what I'm interested in.
Excellent. And I tell you too, Megan, look at the company's composition, because you know what happens in finance and asset management for a small company is different than like Jake up there at JLL. So, you know, get some experience with small, middle, and large size companies, because there's advantages to both.
Anyone else has any questions? Any more questions?
Well, let Meredith go. She's up there in the corner. Meredith, you're smiling. What's on your mind?
I actually wanted to ask you if you had any book recommendations for being more decisive.
Oh, Meredith,
that's something I struggle with.
Making decisions?
Sometimes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I've got a lot of them, and I will, and I'll actually put them, I've got them right here actually in this slide deck. So I will, and you can email me. So there's 2 or 3 of them that I would recommend for that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Have you read, Meredith, have you read Essentialism?
I have not.
Are you a reader or do you do your books on Audible?
Oh, I'm a reader.
Oh, wonderful, honey. You can be my daughter then.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you read a hard book, let me tell you why I like a hard book. And it's not just because I'm a baby boomer. I love a hard book because I write notes in them. And Cindy laughs all the time. Oh, this is a fabulous book. 4 Disciplines of Execution. Woo! It talks about your WIG, your wildly important goal. Oh my God, I love this book. But when you write in it, like, I mean, I make notes to myself, see, and start collecting your own books. I have, and Sydney knows, I have a lot of books. And I tell everybody, don't give your books away. You can recommend and you can get books as a gift, but when you make notes in your own books, when you need some help and you need some self-coaching, you go back to your books. So.
Okay, I'll remember that.
Don't forget it. I won't forget you, Meredith. All right, anybody?
If anyone hasn't read that book, I'd highly recommend it. I did a training with Chris McChesney, who's one of the authors, and it was absolutely transformational. It was so much information in a very short period of time, but definitely one I go back to a lot.
Oh, thank you, Andy. Yeah, one thing that was meaningful to me, well, 2 things. One is the importance of a scoreboard. You always gotta, what gets measured gets managed. And then the other real takeaway from that one was about leading indicators versus lagging indicators. Wanting to live to 100 is a leading indicator. Exercising as a result of a heart attack is a lagging indicator. So there's a big difference in leading and lagging. Anybody else?
I have a question, Debbie. It's Joyce up here.
Hi,
you mentioned working in your genius zone. Is there a test for that or a book?
Oh, I love that question. First of all, I recommend highly the Gallup Strength Finder. That Strength Finder 2.0 by Gallup.com. That is one of the best assessments because it actually lists your strengths 1 through 34. Looking at the DISC profile, looking at science. There's a lot of assessments, but Joyce, if I had to pick one, I would get you to invest, and I think it's like $49.99 or something. Do the Gallup Strength Finder. Okay. And remember, play to your strengths. After you get past 6, you're really in uncharted territory.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Well, this has been a phenomenal experience. I mean, I could hang out with y'all till the cows come home, but I'm excited about spending time with you. You have my contact information, certainly on the flyer. As soon as I finish here, I'll email Alana the slide deck, and it's got my contact information. Megan, it's got your list of books. Or Meredith. And so I'm here if you need me. And I just want you to know that I've enjoyed my time with you, and I hope you found this to be very valuable. Get you a personal journal, because there will be a day that you won't have a Debbie Phillips in your ear, and you'll have to make a decision. And the best coaching is what you say to yourself. I always say the best meeting you'll attend is the meeting you have with yourself. There's no substitute for your own voice. So listen to your inner voice. Let me know how I can help. Cindy, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Very much, Debbie, for your wisdom and for your time. really your engagement with us. And thank you, Cindy, as well, for all your support. We really appreciate it. Thank you for all those who joined the call. And this is great to continue networking and net weaving. So appreciate everyone being on this. And we'll see you at our next one next month. But again, thank you, Debbie, for your time.
All right, I want to come back. Y'all pick a time.
All right.
See you again. All right.
Sounds good.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Debbie.
Enjoy the weekend.
Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.